Welcome to Who Cares, a podcast by SEIU 2015. I'm Arnulfo de Cruz, the president of SEIU 2015 and the host of Who Cares. We are the largest union of long-term care workers across the country. We are committed to the important issues related to long-term care workers and the ever-important issue of care, one of the fastest-growing sectors in our country. Consumer boycotts have been used throughout history to shine a spotlight on corporate greed and injustice. Today, that fight continues. From General Mills to Wendy's, from Target to Walmart, workers and activists are calling on consumers to rise their consciousness and withhold their dollars from corporations engaged in union busting, discrimination, or exploitation. These modern boycotts are building public pressure and also demanding accountability, just like the historic campaigns that came before. And with that, I'm thankful to be joined by a longtime friend of organized labor and working people across the country, former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner. Senator Turner has previously served as president of Our Revolution and national co-chair of Senator Bernie Sanders' 2020 presidential campaign. Most recently, Senator Turner has founded We Are Somebody, a first-of-its-kind organization to support workers' efforts for solidarity through supplementing union strike funds. And now, We Are Somebody is wrapping up a boycott campaign against Target, following the company's decision to roll back its DEI initiatives. I'm so excited to welcome Senator Nina Turner. Nina, welcome to Who Cares?
Thank you so much, Arnulfo. And what a wonderful, wonderful name for a podcast. Who cares? We care. And SEIU is doing the thing. Big ups to Local 2015, which I know that you are the leader of. And I do want the SEIU family and the broader, working class family in general to know that my SEIU 1199 in the great state of Ohio has always rocked with me, from my run for Cleveland City Council to being an Ohio State Senator to running for Secretary of State. I mean, SEIU has been there for me, and I've certainly been on many actions with SEIU. So I love you guys.
Oh, we love you too, and we love 1199, the famous 1199. So, Nina, as you know, we're the largest union of care workers in the country, right? On every episode of Who Cares, we like to ask our guests to share, if they have a story, a personal story about caregiving, maybe a family member who has received care or that you yourself provided. Is there anything that you would like to share just as it relates to, caregiving?
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about my mom, who died at the young age of 42 years old. She had a brain aneurysm, was in a coma for a little while. And just a quick version, doctor came to me, you're the oldest of 7. We got to pull the plug. We can't keep her on this life support, on this machine forever. And I got to tell you, that was one of the hardest decisions to this point in my life that I've ever had to make. I was in my early 20s as oldest of 7 children. The baby is 12. So there's 7 of us. And my baby sister was 12 at the time. And having a mother who had a history of high blood pressure and just stress, being a working class mom, custodial parent, a lot of stress. And there are a lot of women and men, for that matter, in this world who share the same responsibilities that my mom did. My mom was a custodial parent. There was a lot of weight on her, and to see her, just kind of try to take on the world for her children, a world that does not see working class people, does not see poor people as relevant. And I know and I know the caregivers of SEIU 2015 understand that, because you guys are with people in some of their most heavy and darkest moments. So young and very young to die. So I salute SEIU and Local 2015 in particular for being the largest caregivers. Some people don't have family members who could care for them and help them through. And you all fill that gap for so many people who might not have it, or people who do have family members, they're not equipped to do it. But you are there in many forms, and I just thank God for you guys for what you do every day.
So grateful for you sharing that very personal story.
Yeah, thank you for that. And just for a brief time, just going back to my mom worked at a nursing home. So I wanted to put that out there. She was a caregiver.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I know that our nursing home leaders listening right now sure going to be excited about that. So
I want your members to know we really are connected. We're connected because we're fighting for workers' rights, but we're also connected because of what my mom did and just believed in, and then just had a love for people. And those are the types of people that should be in caregiver positions, because it's hard. It's a hard job. Sometimes it's thankless. And as you're laying out, no retirement, have to work in a gig economy. So it's thankless in pay. And it's also thankless long-term, because even though these jobs are incredibly important to the lives of the people who are being served, this society doesn't treat your work, caregivers, as if it is that. It is that. And we got to continue to fight to make sure you get what you deserve. We're fighting against a system that does not see working class people as worthy, and we're fighting for something too, and that is for you to have a living wage. So as far as we are somebody, I kept saying to myself, are you going to run again, not run again? If you don't run again, what are you going to do with this incredible platform that God has given you in this moment? It's finite. It doesn't last always. And so I just decided what I want to do is use this cachet to lift up working class people from all backgrounds. So part of that is we are somebody, all of us, working class coalition of both people who are unionized and people who are not unionized, because we're all working class people regardless of that. And I was very motivated, not just my time in being with Senator Bernie Sanders. I mean, I come from a working class family, but being with the senator in 2016 and also in 2020, but also seeing the great summer of solidarity and how labor unions really, really put it on the line. UAW, the Teamsters, from organized labor to workers at Starbucks, or workers at Amazon, workers were just like, we're not going to take this anymore. And what I learned from watching the Teamsters and also the UAW is that because they are what I would call legacy unions, they have strike funds, whereas other type of workers may not have that, unions with that big stick where they got multi-million-dollar strike funds. And I was very motivated by the coal miners of Alabama who are not stood up to their bosses. They were on strike for almost 2 years, and then their strike funds ran out. And they had to go back to the table in a weakened position. And that crushes your soul. And I'm thinking, wow, if we could raise money to have nonprofit strike fund money that could then help both members of organized labor who might not have multi-millions of dollars and also non-organized labor. We are somebody that's a long way from that vision of mine, but that is what really first got me motivated. And since then, certainly we have evolved to say, how can we be allies in the moment, whether it's helping, promoting organizations like One Fair Wage, just trying to do away with the sub-minimum wage in the restaurant industry. I don't know how many of our sisters and brothers and family and friends understand every time we go to a restaurant, those workers, by and large, unless they live in a state that did away with the sub-minimum wage, those folks are making on average $2.13. Federal sub-minimum wage. There should be no such thing. All the way to workers who are just trying to organize, all the way to established labor unions like SEIU or UAW or Teamsters, you name it. So right now, we are somebody is working on the resurgence of the freedom budget for all Americans. And it was a vision that Asa Philip Randolph, one of the greatest labor unionists of the 20th century, Bayard Rustin, architect and just brilliant civil rights leader, and Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., who, as we know, was assassinated, standing up in Memphis, going to be side by side with those sanitation workers. And thank God, this part of the story is not told as much, but Mrs. Coretta Scott King, even after the assassination of her husband, she went to stand with those workers on her husband's behalf. There's a synergy between civil rights and workers' rights that we have to reclaim. And so the freedom budget for all Americans is the foundation that I am using in my organization to try to organize all working class people across this country, that they deserve better, they need better, and we can get better, because as the architects understood, we live in a hegemonic nation. This nation has the money, and their goal, Arnulfo, was to eradicate poverty in the United States of America in 10 years, from 1966 to 1976. And next year, it will be the 60th anniversary of the vision that they had, and it was planned out to the T. And I'm giving the quick version of it, but that in a nutshell is really how We Are Somebody was born.
That is incredibly inspiring, Senator. And I know that when we talk to members about a strike, the number one fear is like, if I go on strike, who's going to provide for my children, right? It's one of the scariest decisions that a worker has to make. And some workers will never go on strike, but the idea that you're looking to resource the ability for people to address one of the biggest fears or the barriers for people to exercise their power on the job is really incredible. And, I don't think I mentioned this, Nina, but I grew up in the Farm Workers Union, and as a small boy, we kind of lived in this, in this plot of land that Cesar Chavez had bought for the farm worker families. And in 1986, in order to get the grape industry to sit down to negotiate with farm workers because they were refusing to. There was violence in the fields. But my family, we left California in 1986. I was a young boy. We went all the way to the East Coast, and the role for my parents was to try to convince the public to stop buying grapes, right? And there was families that went to Canada, families that went all across the world to try to put pressure on the grape industry to boycott grapes in California and boycott them across the world. Eventually, that boycott was successful. It forced the growers in California to sit down and have to negotiate with the workers. And that inspiration from Cesar Chavez, he got from the civil rights movement, right? So I know that one of the ways historically that we've been able, like you said, to bring non-union members into the movement is also through the power of boycotts. We are somebody as among several organizations that have called for a boycott of Target. I know that we talked about that a while back, and you've been doing some incredible work with allies on the ground. What prompted the boycott, and what are some of its demands, if you could?
Thank you so much for sharing that. People need to know that there's a synergy and connection. And your point about workers going on strike, I just want to remind people who are non-unionized thinks it's easy for workers to say, I'm about to go on strike. But you're taking a risk with your livelihood. Sometimes you might not ever get that job back. And I try, every audience that I talk to, when I do talk about working class people who are unionized, I make that point that we can't take it lightly. That is an incredible sacrifice to say, I'm about to put it all on the line to try to get better benefits, wages, and work conditions, not just for myself, but for the workers coming behind me. And as those of us in labor understand that every time the labor union gets a win, it does help our sisters and brothers who are non-unionized. Right. So I thank you for saying that. Never take it for granted. So as far as definitely taken from the civil rights movement of my foremothers and my forefathers and the sacrifices that they made. The Montgomery bus boycott comes first to mind in 1955, where they decided to boycott the buses that would not allow Black people to ride that bus as equal human beings in the United States of America. That is not that long ago. There are people still alive, who were either children at that time walking this earth who understand what that was like. And they boycotted for 381 days to force that bus company to bend. They didn't bend on moral reasons. They bent on economic reasons. And there's power in our purchase. So Target, and there are others under this program, bent to the bigotry of the Trump administration. And they're not the only one, but when you're boycotting, you got to be laser focused. We couldn't get to all the companies at once, so we got to make an example of one. And one of the major reasons why we picked Target is because Target's CEO, after the murder of George Floyd, that CEO came out. And at the time, I thought it was from his heart in 2020 and said that could have been one of my employees. He also went further to say, because of this, I am going to, and I'm paraphrasing, because of this, I'm going to use my status as the president of Target. We are going to increase the Black workforce within Target. We're also going to spend $2 billion with Black-owned businesses over a period of time. We're going to highlight Black businesses, Black products in Target, along with products of other people of color. Lift them up, do the right thing because of that. Brother De La Cruz, that was the right thing to do in 2020, but now all of a sudden you got a new attitude in 2025 because a neo-fascist president is attacking diversity, equity, and inclusion. In what world is it not right to have diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially in a nation that has the sordid past of this nation? And all of this stuff is not past. It is a very anti-Black nation. And when a nation is anti-Black, every other marginalized group suffers the pain. So other communities of color, women. So that is why Target made a promise and then they turned on their promise. So were you serious in 2020 or were you just trying to play games, gain favor, and get more money? And because of this boycott, the foot traffic at Target has gone down. Their stock shares have gone down. It's worth less than $100 right now. And we are 8 weeks in since February 1. And it is working because it's power in our purchase. We are going to continue this boycott until Target bends to the demands. And these are the demands: to restore the promises that you made before President Donald J. Trump got back into that White House. So to spend that $2 billion with Black companies to restore the products on the shelves of Black companies and other companies of color and veteran-owned companies, everybody in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. And another point, diversity, equity, and inclusion for the Black community has never been the people who benefit the most from affirmative action before it was cut down by the United States Supreme Court and also DEI programs are white women. So Black community, it ain't never been the end all be all, but you made a promise. At least it was a stated step in this country, just like affirmative action didn't really benefit the Black community either. What we got to let you know is that it was a small step, something for us to build on, and you can't go back on your promises. We just not gonna rock with you if you go back on your promises. If you don't support diversity, equity, inclusion, then we can't support you with our dollars. If you don't stand up to this neo-fascist president and link with other companies like Costco and others who said, hey, bring it, we gonna keep our diversity, equity, inclusion, then we gotta let them know, Brother De La Cruz, we can't rock with you. We can't spend money with you. And so we are asking the larger community, and that's everybody, working class people, to not rock with Target at all. Don't spend there at all.
That is incredible. Wow. The boycott began in February at the start of Black History Month. Target share price, as Nita mentioned, is down, and there's reports of lower foot traffic in the stores. What you're saying is really powerful. You could have a list of businesses that are saying diversity is not important to us, but you're saying we want to pick at least one and do it right. I see a lot of stuff in social media talking about these are the companies who have done something similar. Is there an increase of consciousness around how we are exercising our purchase of power? Do you believe there is, since this effort has started?
Oh, absolutely. I do. I mean, people are all on social media talking about it. I was just pulling up 10 straight weeks of decreasing foot traffic at Target. So we have buy-in from not just the Black community, but a larger, the community saying, we not rocking with you because you lied. And people are feeling it. I mean, even if some of the messages that I've been seeing, people are saying they never going back. And that's the risk that Target is gambling with, that people may never go back because of this. And again, we can move companies to do right by the people. And if they don't, we just not gonna make sure that they don't make money. But it can't be temporary. You can't make a boycott temporary. You can't let the people you boycotting against know, on May 1st, we done. No, we're not done until you bend to our demands. So the shares now are at $91.59. It was up before, 10 weeks ago, it was, well over $100, like $150 or so. So it is working. Their shares are going down and the customer base is going down. Now, this CEO should take the brunt of this. It was his decision to do what he did, and he should pay the consequence for it. But as we know, and many CEOs of companies, they make hundreds of times more than what their employees make. And that's not right either, Brother De La Cruz. We got to make sure that workers, just as you are laying out how caregivers are not even making enough money to have a good retirement. Why should that be the case? Why should workers have to sacrifice and the CEOs of these companies don't have to make any sacrifices? It's just wrong. And so we are making a broader statement, because this is not just about Target. This is about all of these corporations. The workers are the first ones to take the hit, and they get all the profits. So in fiscal year 2024, Target CEO Brian Cornell received a total compensation of over $19 million. Do y'all hear me? $19 million. And this included a base salary of $1.4 million. And then $14.7 million in stock awards and $3.1 million in other compensation. This compensation was 719 times the median employee pay of a little bit over $26,000. So that ain't right. We got to draw attention to this, not just in Target, but all of these corporations that will suffocate the very workers that help them make these profits. Give them wages that are not livable wages, but yet one man gets all this money. No, it's time out for it, brother. We not taking it. So it's Target today. It's going to be other companies tomorrow.
Wow, there you have it, listeners. What an incredible episode. In our communities, we're spending money at these businesses. It also strikes me, and you actually mentioned this, Nina, when I said, "Hey, I heard you guys are doing this great work on the ground around Target. How about the workers of Target who every day are going into work? Many of them from our communities, workers, communities of color, immigrants, and they have no union. There's no ability for them to speak up on what they're feeling, on how they advance their working conditions. Maybe there's even folks at the higher levels, corporate people of color, who are worried about their future with the corporation. But these are multinational corporations, the vast majority of whose workforces have no ability to bargain a contract for their wages, for their benefits. And here we go spending our money, driving these profits, and where you have these CEOs making these ridiculous amounts of money that you just mentioned. So I just think the work that you all have been doing, Nina, is so powerful. And it does, certainly, there has been an increase in the consciousness of Americans around the power of our purchase, where we spend our money, and also taking collective action can lead to really, really powerful results. So again, and for our listeners, I want to let y'all know that we're also going to link in the episode description how you can also support Black-owned businesses in this moment. If we're not going to be spending our resources at Target, if we're going to think about how we are more responsible and where we spend our resources, we think that it's also important that we support businesses of color, specifically Black-owned businesses. We'll link that in the description, as long as the incredible work that Nina is doing with the coalition on the ground, not just in Ohio, but across the country. Any closing words, Nina, for our listeners?
Just honored. Hopefully I can come back, and if I could be of support of anything that you all are doing, please don't hesitate. Got to shout out the one and only Dolores Horta. You were instrumental in getting us together. I've admired her from afar for a very long time, and she is certainly in circles with people that I love and admire. Want to lift up your national president, Sister April, doing the daggone thing. My closing remarks is that we do have a list of those businesses that are in Target or were in Target, who are, and you can go and buy products from them directly so that their bottom line is not hurt. We cut out the middleman, and that we have to be in solidarity, as you laid out about what happened to Brother Chavez. The civil rights movement, the Black liberation struggle, I believe, is a bridge, is a connector for all other struggles. And when they come for Black people the way that they are, anti-DEI is just another word. They might as well go and say the N word. Then they're coming for everybody else. They're coming for our Hispanic community. They're coming for the veteran community. They're coming for our otherly abled community. They're coming for the gay community. You know where I'm going with this, that it starts, Black people are the canary in the coal mine. And so we have to unite in that way. And then also people could go on the Instagram, Nina Turner, Ohio, and they can find, the whole narrative about the boycott, a place where they can go and see the businesses, and also more information about the freedom budget for all Americans. I hope to come back on just to give that whole thing some space. I gave a quick version of it, but I want to lay out the pillars, and I want people to know that I believe that even as we bump up against neo-fascism, and we should hard, we also have to bump up against neoliberalism that got us here, and we got to have a vision. It's one thing to fight against, but the human spirit needs to fight for. And I believe that the freedom budget for all Americans brought into the 21st century is the strongest template to give working class people from all backgrounds a reason to fight for something, and a way to hold people who are in office or running for office, to hold them accountable for what we are demanding. They deserve better. Workers deserve better.
What a wonderful way to close this episode, Nina. And you are so inspiring. You challenge us to not just think about how we take action, but how we build a collective vision for the future that allows our communities and workers to thrive.
Thank you so much. Oh, did I mention Until Freedom? I know we both gave our closing, but you had mentioned, that was the last thing. I'm sorry. That was on my mind, because I got to give a shout out to Tamika Mallory and the leadership of Until Freedom, who partnered with We Are Somebody in this boycott, and also Reverend Jamal Bryan from in Atlanta, who started the Target Fast. So please stay tuned, because we are going to be pushing other companies to do the right thing too. So thank you, Brother De La Cruz, so much.
We love you so much. We appreciate you. Hopefully you get to California soon, or if not,
in August.
So we gotta connect 2015, and you and your team. Really appreciate you being on, and thank you so much. And you all, SEIU 2015 family, allies, those who are listening, this has been another wonderful episode of Who Cares with the incredible Nina Turner. Take good care, and we'll be in touch soon.